As the Witcher schools fell, one by one, somewhere around the end of the 12th and start of the 13th century, almost every Witcher fortress was abandoned. The only Witcher fortress where one would still be able to find a handful of Witchers would be Kaer Seren. In Kaer Seren, under the leadership of Vesemir, they offered to give shelter to Witchers from other schools during the winter months, with of course the exception of the cats, who had committed certain atrocities that had heavily damaged the reputation of Witchers in general. But not every Witcher school was completely abandoned, as in the halls and ruins of Kaer Seren, there was still one Witcher who stood guard: Keldar. Keldar was an old Witcher, presumably somewhere around the range of how old Vesemir was. As a child, he underwent the mutations and of course became a Witcher. We do not know if he was one of Erlend's friends from the Order, or if he was mutated after the schools were created. But one way or another, Keldar became a Witcher of the School of the Griffin. After several decades out on the path, Keldar eventually became a teacher at the School of the Griffin. He taught the young Griffins about monsters and how to fight them. In the years of teaching, Keldar had become so familiar with some of the books about monsters, like the Liber Tenebrarum, that he would be able to remember every word from the book. And he would often mock students that didn't give the right answer on questions by telling them that they would go out on a hunt to a vampire with garlic and Lib Yoda figures. In his years of teaching, he also taught the Witcher Cohen, who seemed to be very fond of him. But all things come to an end, and when the mages summoned an avalanche down on Kaer Seren, almost all of the Witchers in the school died. All except Keldar. While the fortress was destroyed, Keldar couldn't let go of the school he loved so much, and thus stayed behind, guarding the ruins of the fortress, where he is said to this day still stand guard. The idea of a Witcher standing guard over their abandoned fortress is interesting, but to me that is not the part about Keldar that really has me thinking about some stuff. What is, however, is where the character originally came from. Keldar was first mentioned in the book Claws and Fangs, which was a book filled with short stories set in the world of The Witcher that were not written by Andrzej Sapkowski. The book itself was released in 2017 at the 30th anniversary of the publishing of the first Witcher story. What the inclusion of Keldar in the CDPR canon therefore could mean is that some, if not all of the stories from this book can be considered canon for the games, or at least elements from them. For some information about Keldar, I had to rely on what was said on him on the Witcher Wiki. There are no official translations for short stories from Claws and Fangs, and I do not know if there are any fan translations out there. But what do you think of Keldar and the possible implications of his inclusion in the game lore? Till the next video. Bye.